Hello, everyone. Your weather hazard briefing for Friday, December 16th continues to show colder and persistent weather through the weekend. And when we talk about that persistent forecast, low clouds, fog, especially where we get the stratus to thin out a little bit, that's a better potential of freezing fog. We still have to deal, though, with the low clouds and even some light snow on it at times through at least Monday. That gets us through the weekend. More snow returns by midweek. It's going to be colder at least this weekend, but those cold temperatures don't stick around for very long. That actually may change how we're looking at the picture in terms of snow towards the middle and end of next week at this point. Satellite this morning, we've got a little bit of a wave coming across, but you can see satellite where we see the bluish gray colors. That's indicative of where the mid and low level clouds are, and wherever that cloud cover is today, we will see the potential of some off on light snow or flurries. We may see a little bit of fog with that, especially where we get the stratus to thin out, and there's the wash, rinse, and repeat cycle that gets us all the way through the weekend. So the weather risk outlook actually indicates that, and we are looking at that all the way through the weekend. It does look like at this point maybe there's a slightly better potential, not much, a little bit better potential up into the eastern highlands, maybe up towards north of Idaho Falls as well for some of that light snow activity. But anywhere really we see the stratus deck, we have the potential of that light snow. We call it cedar feeder. What happens is we get the cloud cover, the higher cloud cover drops some ice crystals in, it gets into that stratus deck, and it actually helps produce a better chance of snowfall. As we get into later Monday, there is some light snow expected in the higher elevations of the eastern highlands and the central mountains. Then a widespread chance of snow on Tuesday. Still cold enough for snow everywhere on Tuesday, and the best chance, and where we see bigger impacts, eastern highlands, and again up around the Sawtooth. This west or northwest flow certainly favors those areas. So let's look at the forecast starting late this afternoon, and you'll notice on what we're showing here, you see that stratus deck, that potential where we see the stratus deck showing up in the models. That's where we get the best chance of that light snow or flurry activity. And like I said, for today, that's going to continue to be for much of the Snake Plain, Magic Valley, and the southern highlands for tomorrow. That may actually let up a little bit, maybe shift a little bit northward during the day tomorrow, but still anywhere that stratus deck remains, that light snow and flurry activity will continue, it looks like, at this point. So back to the forecast. Looking at highs today, teens and 20s across the board. Not much in the way of wind. Although, we'll have to look at the wind, what wind is out there over the next couple of mornings. For highs tomorrow, we're looking at temperatures just a little bit cooler, especially up north. Maybe a little bit warmer where we see the stratus deck persisting down across the Snake Plain and Magic Valley, south towards Oakley and Malta, on over towards Driggs, and certainly back into the Treasure Valley. And highs for Sunday, you see them not changing too much. And for Monday, it's a little bit cooler. Monday just maybe a couple of degrees cooler across the board, at least where the inversion holds, but it starts warming up elsewhere. Now, we're going to skip back to Saturday, tomorrow morning, those lows. You see a lot of single digits above, a lot of single digits below zero temperature, some places down to around 10 to 12 tomorrow morning. The wind chill. The winds really don't get above 10 miles per hour, but you can see with the colder temperatures and just that little amount of wind, a lot of areas seeing wind chills below zero. Up along the Montana border, the Arco Desert, some areas up towards Lador, Gilmore Summit, Mackey, those areas, Copper Basin, certainly wind chills around 10 to 20 below zero in the morning. For Sunday morning, a little bit lower wind chill. You'll notice the temperatures, a lot more of those below zero temperatures where the inversion is held the temperatures down during the day. We might get a little bit of clearing and a little bit colder temperatures at night out across the Arco Desert, simply because there's not a lot to create heat out there. Some of the population centers, they tend to produce a little more heat, a heat island effect, if you will. Not as much as a big city, obviously, but you can see single digits where we can keep a little bit of the cloud cover going, and that's where the wind chills are a little bit warmer, but still below zero. You get up into the central mountains, Copper Basin, up towards, if you want to go on top of Mount Boar, if you want to go up towards Lador and Gilmore Summit, for Sunday morning, some of those wind chills around 20 to 25 below zero. And for Monday morning, Not seeing much in the way of the change in temperatures, but like we said, those wind chills in some areas 15 to 25 below zero with, maybe a 4, 5, 6 mile an hour wind. So certainly it's going to feel a lot colder out there in some places than the actual temperature is going to be. So let's go back to those high temperatures. We kind of did a little flip-flop there, but let's go back to those high temperatures going into next week. We, for a while we're saying it's going to be really, really cold. That pattern, it looks like it's really going to stay to the east of the Rockies now, over into the plains, over into the central part of the United States. We're going to start warming up once we get to the middle part of next week. You can see a lot more 20s across the board, and even some folks trying to hit the low 30s. Burley, Oakley, Twin Falls, 30 to 35 for highs on Tuesday, and this will be briefly. So that means anything we can get to fall on Tuesday should be pretty much snow. Now, we're going to skip ahead to Thursday. Now, look at all these 30s creeping into the forecast. 36 Chalice, even above freezing in Stanley. Mid-30s for Pocatello down towards the Utah border. Mid to upper 30s potentially at this point. And a lot of the probability forecasts, a lot of the ensemble forecasts for the temperatures are pointing to us getting that warm. So if we can realize these temperatures by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday, some of these areas may see a wet snow. We may see a mix of rain and snow if we get precipitation falling during the day. That's kind of a change from where we've been talking about, and we've been talking about, what's it going to look like for a white Christmas. This may eventually impact the probability of that happening. A lot of folks have a lot of snow. I'm not saying you're going to hit Burley, for instance, hitting temperatures Thursday. That warm's going to melt all the snow. There will probably be some snow, most if not all places, still around for Christmas if you're looking at that potential. So once again, beyond that, though, before we get to the summary, you'll notice yesterday we talked about the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook was showing near normal, not much of a trend, but now that we're starting to see a better potential of a ridge building over the western U.S., you see a higher potential of above average temperatures. This is not necessarily saying how much above normal, above average, but the potential, the trend is for above average temperatures once we get to Christmas and beyond. And still, the trend is for above average precipitation during that period. So once again, the forecast pretty much is persistent through the weekend into Monday before the next little wave moves through. A lot of low clouds, freezing fog, and light snow. Their chance of snow ramps up by midweek. Those colder temperatures only sticking around through the weekend. And like we just talked about, the middle and the end of next week, it's going to get pretty warm right before Christmas. We'll have to see how that plays out in terms of what type of precipitation we see and how much snowmelt we see occurring across the area. Have a great Friday. Have a great start to your weekend if you get an early start to your weekend, and stay safe, everyone.